He's Brady Quinn from Fox Sports, former NFL and Notre Dame quarterback. They were on-field analysts for Notre Dame USC on Saturday. It was Brady and Matt Leinart. How did that go, Brady?
You know, Dan, I usually weigh in every time I've called in, but it's after Thanksgiving. I had a pretty hefty meal, so I'm gonna postpone that till another call. But unfortunately, the game didn't go anywhere near as what I would have hoped for. And being that we're at USC, Matt had his crowd and the band and everyone else was into it. But it was a pretty cool experience to be able to go back. I mean, I've only been back for a handful of games to watch Notre Dame play. Unfortunately, I think I've got a 1-2 or 1-3 record going back to watching Notre Dame games. So maybe I need to stay at home and watch on the TV.
What happened to Notre Dame after the Florida State game?
Well, I think the injuries started to pile up eventually. But one thing that a lot of people haven't talked about is the pace of play offenses have challenged Notre Dame with. Over their kind of 4-game skid, you've actually seen an uptick. They've had to defend anywhere from 10 to 15 more plays a game because starting with Arizona State, teams started to go no huddle on them. And what that does is it doesn't allow your defense to get in these complicated, exotic blitzes. The defensive coordinator, Brian Van Gordner, comes from Rex Ryan, the whole Ryan family, that tree. And one of the things in the NFL you do that weakens those guys' defensive approaches, you go no huddle, you don't allow them to substitute, and you play at a fast tempo because when you dial up those blitzes, it takes a lot of communication. And if you're playing fast, they can't get those things communicated. They don't want to risk a big play happening because of miscommunication.
What do you think of Kessler at USC?
I think he's pretty good. I mean, it's hard to really evaluate him based off that one game. Notre Dame was so depleted on defense. I mean, they had guys who weren't even on there too deep in the game towards the end. So I don't know if that was the best test to evaluate a quarterback, but he's been extremely efficient all year. From what I saw, he handled the pocket incredibly well. He moved around, made throws accurate on the money. But again, he was going against a pretty banged up Notre Dame defense, so it's hard to tell in person. It's interesting too, looking at this year. I mean, not a lot of people expected to win that quarterback battle, and now, he throws six touchdown passes versus Notre Dame, the most a quarterback has ever thrown versus ND in its history. And you've got to think he's going to be able to come back again next year, being the starter at USC.
He's Brady Quinn from Fox Sports, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. By the way, the all-time leading passer in the history of Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, I think that's still true.
Are you proud of that, Mark? Or
well, yeah, of course. I mean,
okay.
I think you're proud of stats, but look, Dan, when you go to Notre Dame, you go to win national championships, and we we had our opportunities. I think my junior year was probably the best opportunity, but going back, you talked about the USC Notre Dame game, that rivalry. I mean, that game in 2005, really the way it ended, really kind of crushed any hopes we had of playing a national championship, because had we won that game, we most likely would have played Texas in the national championship game.
Is there part of you, how competitive are you if you're around Leinart? Do you look and say, I was a better quarterback than him, but he won a high. I mean, do you feel that way?
Yeah, but every quarterback feels that way. I mean, believe me. Look, Matt and I actually. So this is where it gets a little touchy. We both went out to Seattle and before 2013, and it was me, Matt Leinart, Seneca Wallace, and Tyler Thigpen. And the way Pete does things is he doesn't tell anyone when he's bringing in free agents to get their physicals and to work out for the team. He doesn't tell anyone. So we get there, and then we all of a sudden all show up the day of the workout, and they're like, hey, you guys are all competing against one another. So I was pretty amped up just for the opportunity to compete, but they had Matt and I throw for throw next to each other, and I came out getting the contract with the team. So yeah, I kind of feel like I had the last laugh when it comes down to it.
Did you flex? I mean, you got some guns on you. Did you go sleeveless to kind of intimidate Leinart?
No. Actually, I was battling like a cold or some sort of respiratory illness. So I was actually kind of bundled up, just trying to stay warm because I felt like crap throughout the entire workout and the trip all the way to Seattle. I mean, that's a long trip, especially from Florida.
All right, Ohio State losing J.T. Barrett. How is the committee going to assess Ohio State? Let's say Ohio State beats Wisconsin. How does the committee look at Ohio State after the Big Ten championship?
Well, I think they've got to see how Cardale Jones plays. That's going to be a key factor. So it sounds terrible saying this, but if J.T. Barrett was going to get hurt, I think it they were glad it happened this week instead of next week if Ohio State wants the chance to get in, because Jeff Long, the chairman of the playoff committee, talked about taking these injuries into account. Not only did they take it into account looking at Oregon's one loss with Jake Fisher and the rest of the O-line banged up, but they're also taking into account if a team has a standout player like J.T. Barrett gets hurt and he's not able to play, that's going to affect how they view them, as far as putting Ohio State in that fourth spot instead of TCU or Baylor. So I think if he plays well, and more importantly, if the defense plays really well, and they're able to stop Melvin Gordon, I think they'll have a chance to get that fourth spot. I mean, the conference championship and the additional game of a 12-1 team versus 11-1, to me, would matter more. I think they should get in based on that.
Give me the upset this weekend: Alabama, Missouri, Oregon, Arizona, Florida State, Georgia Tech.
It's got to be Oregon, Arizona. I think Arizona, the one team that beat Oregon earlier in the season, I think they have the best opportunity to do it again. They matched up incredibly well. You look at them on the defensive side of the football. Scooby Wright's probably the best defensive football player in the country right now. And that's where Arizona's offense comes into play, because they can match Oregon blow for blow. They're just as explosive. Nick Wilson, their running back, has provided a lot of balance for them and their offense over the past few weeks. So I think they can hang in there with a high-powered Oregon offense, but then still get enough stops to be able to pull away a victory. So you've got to feel pretty confident if you're Arizona going in. I think they've got the right game plan to be able to beat Oregon.
But if Oregon beats Arizona, can you make a case that Oregon's resume and the teams they played in the top 40, that it surpasses everybody else, that they'd be the number one team in the country?
Yeah, and I think that matters. Obviously, if they're one or two, I think they're in a good position. But you could definitely make that case. But I think it'd be tough looking at Alabama going through the SEC West, which is a much tougher division than the Pac-12 North that Oregon had to go through. So I still would give the nod to Alabama, especially if they handle Mizzou, which I think they will. Although you never know, man. Missouri's like one of these teams that if I was a betting man, I'd never put money on, because they seem to win the games you don't think they will, and then they lose the games they should win. So.
Has the phone been ringing? Have you gotten any other opportunities to go back to the NFL?
No, just teams kind of calling to see if I was working out and healthy and all that. So, fortunately, I am healthy and working out, but that wouldn't change even if I was retired. I'd hopefully still be healthy, and I'm usually always working out, so nothing's changed there.
Could you send us a selfie of just your biceps?
Yeah. Let me do a workout first.
Yeah,
make sure it's,
do a party pump, Brady, and then have your wife just take a picture of one of your biceps and send it to us. Okay?
Yeah, maybe I'll do it after I try to go get a Christmas tree. It's hard to find one down here in Florida. I may have to go back up to Ohio and chop one down and check it on Southwest or something. I think they'll probably check a Christmas tree.
Thank you, Brady.
It's always fun. Thanks, Dan.
All right, Brady Quinn.